Oh god, okay. Okay, sorry. I just have to I just have to get myself together, alright? Ah, ah, ah. So, Malignant. The latest in a short line of horror films named after adjectives. Not entirely sure what this trend is about, but all I can tell you is that I'm still waiting for Kevin Spacey to call me back and tell me what he thinks of the screenplay for my stalker movie, Pervy. It's also James Wan's latest movie, and the last time I reviewed a film with his name attached to it, the review gradually turned into a suicide note. But I'm nothing if not forgiving, and I did see and rather enjoy the third Conjuring film, if only for the fact that it switched from generic haunted house shit to satanic panic serial killer movie so fast I barely even noticed. So I thought I'd give Malignant a go since it sounded interesting, and hey, the poster looks cool. So let's dive into this one, and yes, there will be spoilers, but trust me on this one, you're gonna want to see this. The film opens back in the early 90s in some sort of medical institution where there's a lot of yelling, loud noises, and flashing lights. Apparently, this film wants every autistic and epileptic person in the theatre dead. Once the film decides to calm down, we flash forward to the present day where a pregnant 30-something woman named Madison enrages her abusive dick of a husband by switching off the TV. He awkwardly brings up the fact that she's had miscarriages in the past and then remedies this fact by bouncing her head off the bedroom wall and immediately apologising for it. After a few moments of the husband engaging in the James Wan staple of wandering around an overly spacious house investigating weird noises, a shadowy figure appears and turns him into a Pez dispenser. Maddie gets knocked out and wakes up in hospital, tragically sans her baby bump. She recovers and returns to her oddly large and expensive looking house where she confides in her sister Sydney that she has always wished for a biological connection to someone. Her sister is naturally confused by this, and so Maddie reveals that she was in fact adopted before Sydney was born. Why she doesn't already know this and why her parents and Maddie saw fit to keep it a secret is never explained. I mean, for one thing, they look nothing the fuck like each other, so I would have thought it would be obvious. Maddie starts having visions of people she doesn't know being brutally murdered by what appears to be Cousin It in his mid-90s industrial phase. In an attempt to prevent further murders, Maddie enlists the help of two generic but ethnically diverse detectives, one of whom chases the Undertaker in a Sadako wig into the Seattle underground, where he's subjected to knife-based violence, inexplicable dry ice machines, and what I assume to be endless repeats of the Nevermind album. Naturally, they come to the conclusion that Maddie is the one doing the killing, and so they shove her in a holding cell where she has the shit beaten out of her by a denim-bedecked bulldyke lesbian in what appears to be Foxy Cleopatra from Goldmember. Meanwhile, Maddie's sister heads off to the old hospital where Maddie was treated for some sort of condition and finds some old videotapes starring the doctors that have been getting sliced up by the lead singer of every black metal band ever. Upon her and her mother watching them, they discover that Maddie had a fucked up parasitic twin called Gabriel attached to her back, who told her to do bad things and was eventually surgically removed, and the remainder pushed into Maddie's skull, leaving him mostly dormant, until her husband fortuitously punted her head off the bedroom wall at the start of the film. It's also apparently Gabriel who is responsible for Maddie's multiple miscarriages. Wait a second, hold the fucking phone. So you're telling me that this lassie had fucking coato from Total Recall surgically removed from her back, and neither her foster parents, sister, nor her fucking husband knew? There would be some serious scarring and bald patches on the back of her head if nothing else. You don't just remove a conjoined twin and leave no evidence behind. Well, who cares, because good lord if it isn't the best thing about this movie. Actually, scratch that. The best thing about this movie is when Gabriel's skinless skull face forces its way out the back of Maddie's head and proceeds to brutally murder everyone in the holding cell and then moonwalk out like a fucked up Michael Jackson. Or, well, Michael Jackson. After being informed of this profound fucking nonsense taking place, Asian police detective speeds his way to the station where Gabriel is now murdering everyone in the police station with what I can only describe as demon spastic kung fu. Gabriel heads to the hospital where his mother is in intensive care. Oh yeah, Gabriel and Maddie's biological mother is currently in hospital. She was kidnapped from her job as a Seattle Underground tour guide by Gabriel, stored in Maddie's attic, and then hilariously fell through the ceiling in front of both police detectives. I forgot to mention her because she does pretty much nothing else of meaning for the rest of the film. So Maddie eventually grows a set of nuts and tells Goth Skrillex to fuck off back to the recesses of her mind. There's no real build up to this, she just kind of does it and that's that. In conclusion, Maddie tells Sydney that all this time she's been looking for a connection to someone, but in the end, it was right in front of her all along. Well, wasn't that a ride? So, what did I think of it? First, the genuinely good. It's well paced, the gore effects are brutal and over the top, there's some fairly cool and imaginative camera work, and the killer parasitic twin idea is really goddamn awesome, even if I'm pretty sure The Outer Limits, The X-Files, and certainly various others have utilised similar ideas over the years. It really isn't what I was expecting though, considering much of Wan's most recent work, and once I figured out what was going on, I certainly didn't expect them to do it in the way they did it. The effect of Gabriel on a young Maddie's back with his fucked up face and tiny waving arms told the line between darkly funny and intensely disturbing. As for the bad, where do you want me to fucking start? This isn't exactly brilliantly acted, for one thing, though to be fair on the actors, some of the dialogue must have been hard to deliver convincingly. In parts the dialogue does a sprinting long jump over the cringe line, particularly in some interactions between Maddie and her sister. The plot makes almost no sense. Why didn't Maddie's foster parents tell Sydney her sister was adopted? Why didn't anyone notice the massive scar tissue that no doubt caked Maddie's back over the years she was growing up and got married? How did Gabriel find out where he and Maddie's biological mother worked? Did he hack some computers and Google her name? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Gabriel can fuck with electrical devices. Lights flicker whenever he's nearby, like that hasn't been done to death. And not only that, he can psychically call people's phones. It's never explained how or why he can do this. He just can. Okay then. Let it also be said that I'm not a big fan of the way James Wan stages and lights his movies. You could say that it makes his movies unique in a way, but really it seems like a pale imitation of Italian movies like Suspiria. In fact, the movie poster kind of reminds me of Suspiria. But this film is no Suspiria. Hell, it's no Terror at the Opera even. I can appreciate an attempt at an old school Giallo-style slasher mystery, but it doesn't quite gel for me here. Damn good thing that the climax of this movie exists then, because holy shit, it's glorious. People die in their dozens, blood cakes the walls, floors and ceilings, bullets fly, chairs and desks are thrown, and I never thought I'd see a one-take Kingsman-style fight sequence in what is meant to be a horror film. Get me Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey. Tell her this is how you take out an entire police station. Despite this, most of the film is basically just generic supernatural boo-craft and serial killer procedural shit papered over with James Wan's trademark style. I do still recommend checking it out, if only for the insanity that comes later in the film, but if you're looking for something genuinely unsettling or creepy or even well written, then I'd look elsewhere. Certainly if you want a more genuine homage to the Giallo-style Italian films this movie is clearly attempted to follow in the footsteps of. As an idiot movie, it is top tier shit. It starts off mediocre with some pretty standard Hollywood funhouse horror bullshit, but thanks to the pacing, it isn't long before the film dons some big floppy shoes and a honking red nose and takes us on a one-way trip to Clowntown. For fans of full-on honk cinema, this is definitely a must-see. I'm DeadEye. Honk honk.